Buffalo. Welcome to the Conversation with Jim Anderson show. It is Austin today. It's a little bit of a lonely booth. It's just me and my mom, Latasha.
That's lonely?
We're gonna try to keep the conversation. No, we're going to keep the conversation moving. We're gonna bring some energy on this Monday for y'all. I mean, if you're listening, you're telling yourself, you know what? I want to add something. I have something I think I want to add to the conversation. Good news is you can. You can call in at 716-837-1112 and join the conversation. Bring a topic or a question that you want us to talk about. And please just make sure it's a question that's concise, get to the point, and we'd love to have you join in on today's conversation. But today, just recognizing that, like I said, we don't necessarily have a guest. We're going to talk about a lot of different community things that are going on, some celebratory things, some conversations that I think we just need to have as far as clarity, recognizing not only the political kind of atmosphere, but this election season that we're in, right? We're a city that's going through a lot of change. We're a country that's going through a lot of change. And so it's really up to us to kind of not only stay informed on the change, really know where we're trying to get to, right? I can't say that my city's terrible, but not know what a better city would look like. And I'm not saying Buffalo is terrible, but kind of to get started into that, we had a lot of, we have some celebrations kind of going up, right? We have a lot of community members who are making a difference, who are shaking and moving. And so we had a Black Achievers event over the weekend. So, in Niagara Falls. So please shout out to all the Black Achievers. If you know somebody, make sure you give them a pound celebratory. Just letting people know that we want to give them their flowers while they're here because it matters. And knowing that the work that you're going to do is going to be properly appreciated makes people more likely to do work. And we even have some Rising Kings. It says here in the Challenger, we have the 17th Biennial Butillion Extraordinaire hosted by the Buffalo chapter of Jack and Jill. We have some young men being honored just as community members who are taking a step up. And like I said, I think this kind of acknowledgement of what people are doing in the community has to start from a youth level all the way up to our elders and kind of community members who are a little more seasoned. So we got Mr. Demario Ledbetter, who was one of the students from Burgard that was in here. We have Christopher Huff. We have Jalen Burgeon, Alexander Jemison, Jonathan Evans, Corey Herring Jr., Malik Mixon, Stats Chittick, Hezekiah Hall, and Sanchez Taylor Jr. And so I just want to make sure we're giving proper acknowledgement to our young people because it does matter. And we're not all just sitting around doing nothing, but we got some young people who are really taking up the mantle and striving to become better versions of themselves. And I think we got to show proper respect for that. We had some other stuff going on as well. We had, oh man, I missed my yeah, we're having a lot of stuff going on currently right now when it comes to corrections. We're in the midst of a strike on one side, right?
Wasn't it fixed? Hasn't it been resolved?
I don't think they went back. I don't think the strike has been resolved yet.
I thought that they did go back. I thought that they went back, but I'm not sure. We can have people call in and correct us, but I thought that they, some of the places have gone back in, and there's some people who have now, because of what happened through that process, have lost their jobs and will not have an opportunity to get their jobs back.
Yeah, it says here 2,000 of those guards were fired and at least 7 inmates have died during that strike. I think it just really, and we're going to talk about for a lot of today, I think it's just this really unique situation where it's like, who is the enemy, right? We have people on the side of people who would point fingers and call the police and the enforcers the enemy, but clearly they're not happy. Right? Obviously, we're not happy by the people being enforced. Both sides are suffering, right? Because you can sit here and point fingers at 2,000 people, but are you telling me if I'm the son or daughter of someone who works in a correctional center, I shouldn't have dinner on my table? No, I ain't saying that. But on the flip side, there's no reason why 7 inmates should be dying. There's no reason why we have situations going on like Rochester. There's no reason why we have situations going on just for the simple fact of if you feel like right now you could not call the police and get a response that you think would really help you and make you calm. I know for myself as a young person, I don't want to see the police pull up. I don't care what's going on. I don't care what kind of fight I got going on. The police pull up, shoot, we got a common enemy now because we're not with them. But yet, like I said, there are people being affected. There are kids. There are our spouses. There are households that are being affected. So clearly it's this disconnect. And I think both on a on a national level, on a local level, with so much change going on, I think it's time we really have a real conversation as to who is the enemy. Who is them? Right? Because as quick as I am to say, oh, if you look like me, you one of us. Everybody look like me ain't for the culture.
That's
and everybody who don't ain't. So I don't know what we're gonna necessarily do or how we differentiate the two, and I'm gonna give my answer in a second. But it's a lot going on, and outside of that strike, is also a proposed on the east side of Buffalo police training facility. Right, they're saying we should have more training, right? And you have certain organizations like Liberation for One, Liberation for All, who are saying absolutely not. But what are the implications of a police training facility? If we're not happy with the way that police are currently handling themselves on the street, should they not be trained better? But in that same token, should our resources that are already so scarce, right? You got young people who can't, and I don't want to become one of the people who like pointing fingers, but no, there are young people who are very uneducated, who very much don't even know how much they don't know. And so recognizing that we're in a city that's in this deficit, they're telling us we owe all this money, we're gonna have to find all these dollars. Is this the time to be investing in our policing? I don't know if that makes sense. But again, it's all dependent on who the enemy is.
Which is really interesting because so far, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, callers can call in. I don't know that I've heard any of the candidates that we've talked to so far running for the mayor of City of Buffalo have really breached that, like talk to that issue. Do you know of any of them that are like standing on that as passionately as they are doing other things like tax situations or the 33 housing? Like, I don't know that I've heard anyone really talking about safety,
right?
Like a community that feels safe, and what is a platform that stands on that. So even if we say we want to do stuff on the east side, like I know there's people who are passionate about that, who's really talking about safety? And right. To that point, there's a trend right now, even with like all the responsibilities that fall on Black women, right? This is Women's History Month. So there's women who are saying we had 2 months. But I think the thing is like, if we're out there doing all these things, like who's protecting us, who's making us feel safe? So I think that is a really good thing to ask about any of the candidates. I don't know if any of them standing on that.
I don't know. I don't know if they have commented on it. I can't say that I've heard any candidate really comment on safety. Or on like on policing or the policies that we have. But even to that point, right? It's like exactly what I was just saying. It's like, who is the enemy? If we're saying that the police are them, right, and we're us, then we want to make sure that yes, they're fully focused on safe and enforcing and protecting our communities. But I don't think that's all the police should be doing, right? I think they should be mentoring. They should be helping create a better community that doesn't require policing, right? Anybody doing a good job is working themselves out of a job, right? What am I saying that to say? I work at Northland. I'm an outreach specialist. I talk about trade opportunities. In a perfect world, I would speak to so many people about these opportunities that everybody would know about trades and I would no longer have a job, right? I'm working myself out of a job. Now, I'm obviously never going to do that, but that's how you know you're doing good work, because you're solving the problem that is causing you to be employed. I think a lot of police officers, or the stance that a lot of people have on policing, is they want us to be a safe community. But we talk about we want a safe community. We want a community of young people who are inspired, and we act as if those two problems are isolated. Well, if people are better raised and better educated and have more options, then crime doesn't become as easy of an option, and we have safer communities as a result. But where do the police kind of play in that ecosystem? But we do have a call. Caller, I'm just going to plug you in real quick, and you should be all set. Caller, you should be on the air. Good morning.
Like, what am I saying? I'm on the air right now. Okay, I gotta shut it off.
Yep, you have to mute your radio or turn your radio down.
Yeah. Okay. All right, let me see if I can hear you now.
Good morning.
I'm not a normal radio caller, but I was listening to UFO right now. It must be a little behind the broadcast, because what's happening there isn't what's happening there. Is that India and Austin?
Yeah, it's going to be a little delay, but it's just Austin and Latasha. India's not. I don't know if you said India, but
okay. Latasha's voice sounds a little bit like India Wells.
Oh, I'm not running for any political things, which is a compliment. I think she's a great woman.
When I look around the community and things going great, I can't wait to meet you at Latasha.
Absolutely.
Austin, was that Austin from the Meriwether Library?
Yes, sir. Yep, this is Austin. I did the forum at the Meriwether Library. It's great to meet you.
Likewise. Are you still talking about policing right now?
Yep, we're talking about we're just trying to have a community-based show. So if you want to comment on what we were talking about with policing, please, yeah, definitely. If you have like a question or perspective you'd like to share, we can go ahead and comment on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm in a rough space with the campaign. There's only so much petitioning left to do, and people know that I'm a candidate, and I don't have any money or any resources, and this is all just a stunt. But there's a lot of good ideas for better policing, and I couldn't help but stand up hear someone say, does anyone have any platform points on policing? Because I got my Maggie for Mayor Buffalo page is actually a little bit broken now because I'm missing the webmaster that helped me put it together. But collaborative, no, not collaborative planning, but I think I put it under peer-to-peer workforce. But so I think, well, first of all, there's cops that are on the force that are responsible for a lot of fatalities and a lot of complaints and a lot of negative outcomes that I said in the first forum, which wasn't televised. No one got to see it. I should be fired, and all of the candidates actually agreed with that. So I hope that we hold them to the fire on that. Sean Ryan said that, Whitfield said that, Gaynor said that, right down the line. Payne said that. That we should fire officers responsible for fatalities. And I think that would open up quite a few resources to do different things. And embedded peers, I can't think of the word, the Partnership for the Public Good uses for this, but
sorry, I don't want to cut you off. I don't want to cut you off. We just had Murray join us in the booth, so I want to introduce him. So I'm not gonna bring us back to the forum and say you have 10 seconds, summarize your answer, candidate. But if you could just summarize a little bit, we would love to have you come in for an extended interview if you have time. But
that's what we need. That's what we need in every cop car. Left New York peacemakers.
That's the truth, and I feel like it is to kind of answer, and I do appreciate you for calling in, Maggie. It's kind of like saying, how can we take a more active role in the policing and enforcement and safety of our communities? Because when you leave it all fully to other people, you see what happens, right? People that don't live here are enforcing policies here, which I know on paper they are supposed to live here, but people that don't necessarily aren't a part of their community are enforcing things on their community. And when you don't understand why, and you're only attacking the result of actions, you're only looking at people that are homeless or dishoused and saying, oh, you shouldn't be here, instead of asking, why are you even dishoused? Or why are you consistently at these places? I think you end up with a policing or an enforcing group that doesn't even understand the people that they're supposed to be serving. And so I think it does require an enhanced level of accountability to say that, yes, if you're not doing good to this community, you're actually going to cause more harm being a bad officer on the force. You're going to make our community less safe being a bad officer on the force than not being on the force at all. But within that,
might be by design in the first place. We're working up against a lot of resistance. But yeah, you're right. It should make a lot of sense.
It definitely.
Community accountability right in the car every time.
Absolutely.
And mental health workers riding along with the cops.
I think the best person to talk about that would be the person who has the most boots on the ground. So we appreciate you for calling in today, but I'm going to introduce Mr. Murray Holman. What do you think looks like a better approach for policing in Buffalo, and how do we as a community kind of meet them in the middle to take initiative for making our community safe?
So you asked the question when you started off with, were the candidates talking about policing? Well, you have to look at Mayor Scanlon actually just hired Alfonso Wright, is now the commissioner of Buffalo Police Department. Been boots on the ground almost 30-something years in the police department. So now you have a different vision getting ready to happen in there. Not to say the other commissioners didn't do the same, but now accountability comes more on us when we have us in a position like that. Also, you have the NET team. See, I'm gonna give you some good stuff. Please. The NET team is a community-based police part of the police department that goes around to certain events, community events, give away bikes, do a lot of things in the community, not just, just there when they need them, but they get out their cars, police officers get out their car. They have qualified team there, does a lot of work in the community and helping our organizations out as well. So it's a collaboration. They do community events all over throughout the whole entire city. When they give out resources and show you what the police is all about. We do have bad officers, but we have a lot of good officers. My son is a police officer, matter of fact, and he's coaching Little League football. He's doing things like that there. He has received numerous awards for doing work in the community. Some of the stuff is not being told because they're underneath the radar. We do have a Black Police Association in the city of Buffalo. Now that I'm trying to talk to new officers that's on the force to come out and join out. So now we can do it. This show, actually, before it became the Jim Anderson show, was the Ted Kirkland show. Ted Kirkland was one of the first African-American Buffalo police officers in the city of Buffalo that walked the beat when they didn't have guns and things like that there. And, kudos to him for the work he's doing. I am now a sheriff reserve as well, so I do community work liaison through the sheriff office to go to events and talk to folks. So we do have officers that's out there doing work. We don't see them as much, but it's important to know that that when we talk about policing right now in the city of Buffalo, Mayor Scanlon did actually appointed Alfonso Wright, and then the Common Council came and did put him in their permanent position for right now, because Mayor Scanlon's running for he's only on term for 1 year, but afterwards. So I believe that we have to look at, you got some good chiefs in districts. I can give you Todd, I can give you Chief Young, I can give you what is it, Tommy Champion. It's some good chiefs that's in these districts that can really show you. All you gotta do is go to the district and call the district, ask them what resources do you have out there as far as community. Are your officers out to come?
I know you were talking about what Mayor Scanlon is doing. You talked about Mr. I think it's Alfonso Wright being in that position. And I think we're talking a lot on almost like the Moseses, right? We're talking about people who are going to lead us to the promised land. But I want to hear your perspective as someone who is a sheriff deputy, right? You've been out in the community. You can probably also say that the state of enforcing is not where it needs to be, right? The state of the relationships between the police and the average person in Buffalo are not where they need to be. So clearly there are changes that need to be made. And there are certain positions. I got a chance to meet Tommy Champion myself. Great guy. There are people who are great people in these positions, but what does the promised land look like? I know there are great people in these positions, but is it kind of what candidate Maggie was saying, which is like more viewership, more of us saying we're on these scenes, we're watching what they're doing, or is it more of what they're proposing in some of these other plans, more training? What does that change look like?
What the training part goes, and I have the opportunity to go to the training for all officers, not just Buffalo police officers, but Erie County. Anyone that goes to the training, go out to ECC, get an opportunity to come in not as a sheriff reserve, but to come near as a community person from our organization, Stop the Violence Back to Basics. We get an opportunity to talk to new officers that's in training to let them know you got to get out your cars, you got to be there for the community. And they give us that opportunity to do that there. They get to meet us on that level. The GIVE program, I'm part of the GIVE program. That's called Guns Involved in Violence Eliminated. I go out with the Sheriff Office, Probation, Buffalo Police Department, Lackawanna, Amherst Police Department, and Cheektowaga on notifications. Now, before used to be just police officers, but now community-based groups goes along with this. So it's not that status quo just looking like it's a raid and we're getting youth resources. I'm directing them to the Northland Corridor. I'm giving them opportunities to get their life cleaned up. And that's what it's all about. So we got a lot of stuff. Our governor right now is pushing on the GIVE program, but you got to look at some things. We're going to have some bad apples in everything that we do. And you ask the promised land. I don't know what the promised land look like. Only one. I mean, we even say it in the Bible, the promised land, but you know, how you going to get there? And that's the question on hand.
No, I think that's definitely a good approach. And I think it even ties to what we talked about our earlier question, which is who is the enemy? I think we have to build this relationship dynamic between the police and the people in the community to say that we recognize that it is somebody's son.
Right.
It is somebody's father. Yeah. It is somebody's mother. It is somebody's sister. And so we're the same. We are, whether even if you don't live in the street or the area that I live on, you're a part of Buffalo. We're all the same people. You guys are people who have decided to serve your city by helping make it safe. I may be someone who decided to help my city by trying to educate my city, but we're all people trying to make a better city. And the way we get to that is not going to be through me looking at you through your tinted glass as you drive by in your cruiser. It's not going to be through you looking, pointing fingers, seeing me walking up the street. It's going to be through, like you said, getting out the car, walking the street, and us being able to interact. And I think that's going to only become clear when we talk more about that question, which is who is the enemy? And I have an answer for that, but we have another caller who's going to join the conversation. So, caller, you should be on the air. Good morning.
Shout out to New York and Points Beyond, and to y'all. I'm glad you're rocking it. And I just wanted to shout out, as you know, I'm doing an overnight now at the hospital, and I'll be out later today. And
praying for you.
But I did want to say one of the things, going forward, we're gonna raise the juice on the rest of our community, because I've been seeing a lot of people who are concerned about the moment. Some, and I realize there are a lot of young folks and others who haven't been in moments that are dark, like what we're facing now. But I want to remind folks this ain't the first time we've been in dark moments. This ain't the first time to be up large, trying to be in charge and doing wacky stuff. And the key for us is that whenever the oppressor has their foot on your neck, your only job is to get it off. And what I'm saying is we all have to raise the need for us to resist what's being trying to be forced upon us, and to stand together and model for those who have kind of become weak in their spirit. Because many people look and say, wow, if they can break laws, if they can get away without listening to sound judgment, there's no hope. I wanted to call this morning and say there's great hope. And we're going to be turning it on every week from now on to letting them know we got great hope, and we'll come in popping them that way and bringing the good news. It's happening all over the country, and Buffalo is not going to be left out of getting organized and being part of the resistance, and not in a negative way, in a way that protects our interests, our families, and our needs. And just wanted to say that and tell y'all have a good show. I'm going to keep listening. And yeah,
Well,
so with that, have a great rest of the show and great day.
Well, it's always good to hear you. We're glad you're calling in, and we definitely going to be keeping you in prayer. We hope you get out the hospital promptly and quickly. And in your absence, we very much always do try to respect and appreciate you for providing this platform. And within that is very much what you talked about, is being able us to kind of look across, looking left, look right, and saying that, yes, we may be in a tough time, but these people next to me are in this time with me, and I'm not alone. And together we can get out of that tough time. But it's exactly what I was just asking, which is I think it's going to become very, 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 very important over these next coming months and years to be hyper clear on who is on our team and who is not. Because a snake on your team will cause way more damage. A snake on your team will cause way more damage if they are insidious, if they're under the radar, if we're not clear. And so I want to keep asking the question. I want to give my answer to the question, kind of to comment on what you said. Who is the enemy? Who is the oppressor? We want to quickly say, when we say them, what comes to your mind? I already know what image comes to your mind when you say them. I already know something comes to your mind. I'm going to tell you your image is probably wrong, because what it really is them has no age, them has no gender, them has no look, them has no race. Them has bigger pockets than you. What does that mean? Us versus them. There are many people who look like us who are benefiting tremendously under this administration, who won't get up and stand up and say, hey, this is wrong. This is something going on. You know why? Because the two sides are not white versus black. It is those who have and those who don't. It is those who have money and those who don't. And if you're wondering what side you're on the side who doesn't. Because if you got money, you're not confused. It's those who have it and those who don't. And there are these policies that are happening that are benefiting the rich, benefiting the wealthy, that are causing all people, not just young, not just older, not just black, not just white, not just policemen, not just those who enforce it. Everybody who doesn't have it, every working class person is under attack.
So here it goes. You said you rolling right now.
This ain't no sideline for nobody. This is a sign to get.
And I just want to add in there too, the amount of money is not as big as you think it is. So what do I mean by that? Like, I had conversations with people, and I mean, admittedly, as a business owner, like the first time that the current president was in there, your business didn't have to make as much money as people think that it did. It just had to be structured properly. And you had to make sure that you were hitting certain revenue goals. And there were benefits for people who were business owners who thought this time around it was going to be the same. I think the difference is he didn't have an advisor that was a billionaire. So now it's looking different on the terms of, it's kind of like the same people you're talking about, probably term one, are now saying, oh, on term two, I wasn't at billionaire status. So now it's some, like you said, there still are people who look like us that are benefiting from these programs. But I think the game, like, you know how they say they changed the position of the pole? What is it called? You keep moving the goal line. The goal line keeps moving. So I just want to make sure that that's really clear. And you need to stop hitting the table for the here and for there.
So here we go, folks. Let me go with some reality right now for you folks that's a little bit older out there. Watch the movie. I was watching the movie Do the Right Thing. And in that movie, Spike Lee, hit all the points, to the points that right now we're still experiencing the same stuff. Disrespecting because somebody else came here from another country. And the people that were saying they was coming from another country was the black folks saying, well, he said, dude, you talk Jamaican. You ain't from here neither. But it was just, the movie was on point to the same stuff is happening now. We talk about Arabs opening up stores, Chinese opening up stores. Then you look on the corner, you see black men standing on the corner, only hustling, not entrepreneuring and all that. The same thing is happening over and over and over. So we're still doing the 360. You should be doing 180, and then that way we ain't going back to the point.
Yes, calling that out because we see it in our community, and once everybody start realizing it's those who are not trying to do anything to help make the community stronger. It's those who are pimping off the community and hustling off the community and waiting for everybody else to fix it. No, it takes all of us. And we're going to get there. And we're going to identify the ones who are not serving within the community. They're talking about, they got the title, City of Good Neighbors. Well, no, it ain't just enough to be a neighbor. You got to be on the side of humanity right here. And for those who are coming from any country, they need to understand that, yeah, we want you to survive, but you got to come in with respect and humanity towards those who already are living here. We understand that they come from countries where the cost of living was cheaper, and the manner in which they lived in ways that we don't have to live on top of each other, everybody in the same house. But they come here and they do that and they use it to their advantage. But what we're saying is don't use it to disadvantage those of the people who are here. And that goes to everybody. And those who lived in our community for a long time, in which many people know something about, this is face the music time. If you're not on the good foot doing the right thing, and serving the best interests of our community, you're going to get called down, and in some cases, people will be moved out. We're at that moment. We don't have time to shuck and jive with nobody, and we need to be very strong in our articulation about that. And so you guys continue on. I'm going to just continue listening, and I'm glad you're holding it down.
Well, thank you. We appreciate the opportunity, and to kind of even go off what you're saying is because, like, yes, there are people who look like us, people who don't. There are people who have been over here and people who aren't. But even those people that were quick to point fingers at those groups, or they have these stores, they have these areas. If you look and you really start to go around, it'd be the same family that own 50 stores. It ain't like all of them are balling. It's like one group came over and just like it's one family that's balling. Like, so there are people who are immigrants coming over here who are living terribly. Like, there are people, immigrants over here who are still a part of us. And there are some loopholes.
There's some loopholes that they can open up a store in a matter of 30 days when we have to go through red tape. And I'm seeing it on Walden.
But it's not just us though.
Yeah, but you got a building that just happened, that just opened up. They put a whole bazaar in there. And the whole building, I know, was contaminated because it was engine blocks sitting on the floor. So how did the EPA allow this store to open up? I'm just saying, the stuff that we get is different. And the road that we take is totally different from how people is coming here now. And to the point right now, we have a president, and we talking about the shakeup. We have a president right now is taking people out of here. Come on, man. It's getting El Salvador. Look, you just had planes dropping off prisoners. Come on.
We're to the commercial break. All right, we're gonna be right back after the break, and I want to comment on that. Thank you. Stay tuned, y'all. No, it is like I just saw that. All right, bye, Jim. It is like it is difficult, right? Because it is like a lot of loopholes that they have. But here's my whole thing, right? Here's my whole thing. It's always my whole thing. For the loopholes that they have, and for the risk that, like, let's say this, right? Let's say I give you a loophole right now. Mm-hmm. If you make under X amount, you can open a store, right? And in order to get that loophole to work, which you'll see, right? We'll say it's a loophole, but if I asked you right now in the community, in order to get what they have, I need you to take all your children, all your peoples, move them all in one crib. Your kids gonna work 12-hour shifts. Mm-hmm. When they get out of school, they're going straight to the counter. All these different things they have to do. I'm not saying that there's not loopholes and advantages, but what I'm saying is I think we have an we have an unfair perspective as to what it takes, because in that same token, this is what I'm saying. If Austin Martin right now went and did what some of these predatory people are doing, which is saying, I'm going to open a corner store on every lot, I'm going to charge exorbitant rents, I would be a terrible person too. We're right back to the show, and welcome to the Conversation with Anderson show. We have a caller, but for other people who want to call in before we go to that caller, you can call in at 716-837-1112. Before our caller, good morning. You should be on the air. It's great to have you.
Yes, good morning. This is Dr. Doyle calling in.
Good morning, Dr. Doyle.
Yes, I celebrated my 79th birthday Friday.
Happy birthday. Happy belated birthday.
So now, Brother Holman, I'm on the countdown to 80.
Uh-oh.
If the Lord will allow me to be here next March, I'll be 80 years old. I want to say this. My family gave me a wonderful celebration on my birthday at the Black-owned restaurant on Hurdle Avenue called Heaven's Countertop.
It was on Facebook. We've seen it.
Good environment.
Yes, ma'am.
Blacks are still going into business, and we just need to support them. And I will say this, that I have lived through 11 presidents.
Wow.
And we went through the same things that we are going through today. Nothing is new.
Nothing.
But the one thing, after living through 11 presidents, going back to Dwight Eisenhower, Blacks have always faced challenges, but we came through them, and we'll still come through them if we unite. And I just want to, before I leave, greetings, Mr. Anderson. I just want to say Mr. Anderson has been a strong leader in our community, and before him, we had Ted Kirkland, one of the most important police officers in our history. So I will just say this. At the age of 79, going toward 80, my role is to remind our people, especially our young people, of our history. And I will say this, and I'm sure Mr. Holman remembers, we had another ethnic group that took over our businesses.
Yes.
Remember Pauline's?
Yes.
On William Street?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
If you know that history,
Yes, ma'am.
we went through it that time. We'll get through it this time. You all have a wonderful day, and remember our history.
Mother Doyle, we do have our youth. They just did like 15 essays on Merrill Till that just came to the city of Buffalo. First African-American woman to fly a U-2 spy plane. We brought it in, Stop the Violence Coalition, and they wrote essays, and they will be getting those to you. And so with that being said, I guess that's my woman for the month, because I know it is, what is it?
Women's History Month.
Women's History Month. So Merrill Till, our first African-American woman to fly U-2 spy plane, came to Buffalo, Stop the Violence Coalition, brought her in, packed house, and the youth finally just did these essays for her, and it was tremendous that they did that. So they'll be getting them to you. Mother Doyle does a lot of work in the community with essays and Black history, and to come 80 years, that's 3 scores plus. And you gotta be, when you get 3 scores plus, that means God is giving you every year is another blessing. Plus, he only was promised 3 scores, but she's going beyond that. And so, God has you.
Now he got you banging on
Absolutely.
the table.
Yeah. We have another caller, and I do still want to comment on what you talked about, but we have another caller. I want to give them a chance to join the conversation. So thank you for calling in, Dr. Doyle. And caller, you should be on the air. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Is that me?
We can hear you.
I'm sorry. We can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi. I just got somebody just gave me the radio and told me to listen in. And I am living in Buffalo, New York. I've been here 25 years. I don't know what to call myself, because I don't know. If I cannot call myself African American, I guess I can, because I'm Black. That applies to me. But I'm native of Sudanese. So I was brought here through United Nations as a refugee through the civil war in Sudan, or South Sudan, that been happening since 1920 until now. And it's the same similar thing that Black American go through here.
Yes.
So I came here and I joined a couple of Black American community centers to try to get some help, but it didn't work well because even when they brought me from Africa, so before we came in, the United Nations gave us the training that we cannot be talking to Black Americans. We need to be separate to them by all means necessary. And when they brought us here, they put us in a white neighborhood or somewhere in a Hispanic neighborhood.
True.
So later I find out that this is part of the division. So the colonizer do not want Black Americans and Black Africa to be able to have some sort of meeting of mind. Then if there's a meeting of mind, then there's a unity to obtain land.
Yes, yes.
And when I came here, so I was told by the United Nations, I'm going to come here to have stability because there's a war back home. But here I find out it's impossible for me to own the land. And where I am, if you have no land, you have no life. You know, it's literally
You own the building, but not the land.
Very much.
And I could find out African American here has been living in a dead zone of not allowing to own their own land here for centuries. Even whatever was promised to them, 40 acres of land was not given. So therefore, with me here as a Sudanese, it is hard to be able to find the community. But I look around, I visit Italian community, Ukrainian community, Russian community, Polish community. Everybody have a community, but I also visit African community. But their community is not very strong as these European communities.
It's broken up.
Can I?
European under government, but they still have their community as well.
I'm sorry. Excuse me.
So
I don't want to cut you.
You guys to ask literally because all the Black that come here, the people that try here to take the job for these Black or they're given the job for these Black natives here, most of them are Arab, maybe Indian, but definitely not Black Africans. We came here. I think they put us on the youth. You know, even if we try to ask you, there's a big gap.
Excuse me. I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to. Excuse me.
We are the largest refugees. I'm from Sudan.
Okay, cut it off.
The largest refugees, and we don't have any community. And I try to connect with the city of Buffalo and some African community.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments, ma'am.
I want to get a chance to reply, or else we're not going to get a chance to get another caller in who we did have. But I very much agree with what you're saying, right? It's this disconnect. And that's why I'm saying that I think it's very important that we are very clear on who is with us and who isn't. And that's why the danger of pointing the finger at immigrants is dangerous, because there are people who have immigrated over here who are suffering just as bad as people who were born here.
Well, she said it clearly that the same tactics was, Mother Doyle said it clearly, and then she came back. The same tactics were used back in the day is still being used right now in our community. That's what we got to be careful of. You know, put you in their neighborhoods that's not like you, and now you transvert to their culture. So we got another caller.
I'm about to say we got two more callers. So caller, I think the next caller we have, you should be on the air. Good morning. Caller, you should be on the air. Good morning. I guess the caller left. Okay, and then we have another caller. So we're gonna get this last caller in, and we're gonna go back.
It's good to call. I mean, it's great they're calling, to the station.
Caller, you should be on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. The line hung up. I guess that was it.
No, I think we were trying to say excuse me because we wanted to get a chance to reply to your comments because we only have so much time on the air. But we do appreciate you for calling in. And next week, please call in as well because continue to share your perspective. But we're gonna go ahead and reply to what you were saying just because we're on a time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And to like exactly what we were saying, to that caller's point, and we do appreciate you for calling in. It's these tactics that are being used against us.
If we
aren't aware as to the not only the tactics that are being used, but who is being affected by the tactics, like I said, we're gonna be so quick to say that it's y'all, it's us, it's everybody's, all these different groups when we're really all suffering from the same group of people, which is the rich. But we have another caller again. Caller, you should be on the air. Good morning.
Yes.
Hey, Austin and Murray, it's James Colvin. How we doing?
How you doing, sir?
Speak with you, Mr. James.
Hey, good to hear you guys. Yeah, I know I was on a long while back with Miss Geraldine Pointer, son Terrence, where I'm helping out a campaign called Justice for Geraldine Martin.
Yes.
And we're trying to exonerate former political prisoners Martin Sostre, Geraldine Pointer. Martin owned a few Black-owned bookstores on the east side in the 60s, and it was shut down by law enforcement as one of the first COINTELPRO sweeps by the FBI, and total frame job and everything, trying to suppress Black liberation and education. And we're having a rally to the DA's office this Thursday at 2:30. So just wanted to shout out that, but also we have recently learned that Erie County District Attorney Michael Keene is trying to accuse the DA's office from the exoneration application that's been filed and transferred to Chautauqua County. He's not giving us a straight answer other than he feels there may be some sort of conflict of interest, just kind of obfuscating a little bit, not giving me a response in writing. I sent him an open letter, an open invitation to Thursday, and he's like, I have to recuse myself from this. So, it seems like whenever I want to try Black folks in the area, they have, whether now or back in the 60s, no problem doing that. But, when it comes to getting actual justice from the state, they just want to wipe their hands clean and not do any wrongdoing.
What's the time of it?
Yeah,
What's
about
the
the time and the time.
Yeah, 2:30 on Thursday.
In front of where? What's the location?
Niagara Square, and then we're going to 25 Delaware Ave, which
Oh,
is
you're
just
gonna walk down the
block on
street.
south
You're
side.
gonna do a peaceful protest down the street, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And it's Thursday's Martin Solstray's birthday, so it's to acknowledge that.
Okay.
I was making some signs yesterday with other volunteers. We're making signs that were used in the 60s with Martin Solstray's original defense committee, such as Southern Justice, Northern Style. That was a phrase used a lot for the frame up that had happened. So we're just trying to keep the pressure on, and also ask the question, what couldn't the East Side have been if these books were to remain, thrive, and flourish in the community?
Thank you.
I'm about to say, will definitely make sure, please, if you guys are free, come out on Thursday at 2:30 and be able to support this important issue, because, and this is exactly, I know I keep talking about it, but when I get on an issue, I continue to stay on it for the whole show. Who is with us and who is not, who is on our team and who isn't. James is a person who, even before this, my first instance with James, the first time talking to James at home, was when he gave me his thesis, and it was on why the segregation of Buffalo over the past 50 years, how we got to here where we are today. So there are people who you may not see James on the street and say, James look just like me, James got to be part of the struggle. But James probably know more than 10 people you can pull up off the street on why the racial dynamics that we have in the city are the way that we are. And so we need to make sure that we are supporting those who are with us and making sure that for those who aren't, like I said, it sounds terrible to say, there's a lot of people who, like me, who are in positions of power who want nothing but worse for me. Like, there are people on both sides. So we have to be super clear on who's helping us. And when you have someone like James who's saying on Thursday at 2:30, come out and just support, I think it ought to be something that we definitely bring attention to. So thank you for calling in, James. We're going to head back to the show for the last 15 minutes, and we hope that some people will come out and support that protest.
So we've been hearing about the protesting going on with corrections. A lot of folks is losing their jobs. People really seem like they don't understand what's taking place. The media is giving perspectives of it. I know that, we have to do something that is major in helping them get the message across about what takes place in our jails on both perspectives, not just for the inmates, but for the officers as well. Some of them, the stories that I'm starting to hear now of officers going through it, women and men being, hurt, and then inmates being hurt and killed. We're like moving away from certain things. I can remember when the George Floyd thing happened, we were all about, Black Lives Matter, things like that. It has gotten quiet in the United States on certain things. We know crime is down in the city of Buffalo with violence and homicides, but other things take that place in crime. But we not making the noise, and we're not being activists enough to still make City Hall accountable, our community accountable for things that's taking place. We're quick to just go ahead and brush it on the table. We can't be fair weather activists, only work in the summertime or springtime. We got to work all year long in this journey that we're doing. Our gun intervention program we're doing with our youth, Stop the Violence and other organizations, back to basics. With youth right now, I'm not fighting, not shooting, but working. Is working through the county initiative the Mark polling cards in the county legislation is working, and we have to look at those avenues. These kids were on the air yesterday saying we might not have a job in June because what's going on with the president and other things here. So we have to be careful. I don't know if I'm gonna have a job. I don't know if you're gonna have a job in the upcoming months. We're not thinking about that. All we thinking about is, they shutting down, people that might work at the veterans place and all that there. But when it's gonna start affecting us, when I gotta go buy a battery for the used cost $179 and the battery costs $359 now, something is about to happen. Are we ready for that? Eggs went down, but everything else is going back up.
And that's what I'm saying. We're gonna go to this call and then I'm gonna reply, and we'll go ahead and talk some more from there. But caller, you should be on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. The reason why I was calling, I wanted to express that as a community, we need to create our own agenda, and so that we would know what we want to go after, and create the accountability within ourselves first before we can make demands on politicians or business owners or whoever they may or may not be. And at the end of the day, we need unity in our community, which has been absent for over 40 years of my life. Okay? And that's the only comment that I want to make. And I think that there should be a forum for the community's agenda for the upcoming mayoral race. There are many opportunities for support, 9 different people. But we shouldn't be supporting none of those 9 if they're not in line with what our agenda and what we want to see in our community. And I'll hang up and I'll listen to the next caller.
Well, thank you for calling in. I do want to just take a second and say thank you for keeping it short, for hanging up voluntarily. That is a model caller. I appreciate you. And if you want to join it, you want to be just like that lady calling in, you can call in at 716-837-1112, ask your question and hang up too, and we'll appreciate you too. But thank you for that. But to exactly what you're saying, I think for months I kept saying the same question on this show. What unites us more than suffering? What unites us more than suffering? And I'm realizing now, recently, that question was even too early. The question we need to ask ourselves, you're right, community member. We should be organizing to create better agendas, to create the change that we want to create.
I think we are, though. We are.
We don't even know, for example,
silos.
I'll give you an example. It's silos. We don't know what we means. Right. So you'll say we're doing that, and I hosted
this radio station does more community forums than anyone. WFO and Power 96.5 bring forums every day to our community. The folks that's listening don't come. You got to come to these events. You can't sit at home and look at the TV or put your hand on the radio. You know what I'm saying? You got to come together and bring this out. We're giving you the tools to come out. You're just not opening up the toolbox. That's what it is.
And I know we have another caller too, another one. I think, okay, we'll go to this next caller and then I'll be able to comment. Yeah, thank you.
Hello?
Hi, you're on the air. Just make sure, can you just turn on your radio a little bit? We can hear you kind of echoing.
Yes.
Okay, you're on the air.
Hi, thank you for letting me call.
Yes.
I just wanted to just bring attention that we need to support and look into the issue of a guy, I believe his name is Richard Walls, that was defending himself in the summertime, and he's currently have been arrested, and they're trying to put murder with intent on his situation when he was trying to defend himself after he had been harassed and targeted in the summer. And so I just hope that people in Buffalo look into this issue, because we really need to support him, because it could be any of us at any time. And we really need to support our brother, because he's a well-known guy in the community. I've seen him myself. Honorable guy, very, nice. He actually had a gun license, so to give a black man a gun license, that means that he must have been, having no problems, clean cut. And we need to support him, because it was an unfortunate incident that happened. A life was lost, and it's very sad. I feel bad about that. But he was defending himself, and it wasn't on purpose. And so just people need to look into that issue and support our brother any way that we can.
So with Richard, it happened in Cheektowaga, basically what you're talking about. And it's,
correct,
yes, it happened in Cheektowaga. They wanted to call it a race issue. And I know Richard works for NFTA. The only way we're going to get some support for him is to be in that trial, to listen to it. I'm trying to get into that trial as well. The community has to come together and give him support for a legal team. He really needs a good lawyer, and we're making a noise now to try to find a good lawyer to represent him. We're not saying that this is based on the Muslim community against the Black community. It was an issue that took place there that it needs to be more answers to. Needs to be really looked in more deeper than what it has been looked into. But for Richard, we're praying for him right now. I don't know if they gave him a bail or anything, but I know without bail. But we're going to pray for him. But I believe that if this story goes out the right way, that we can get him the help he needs. But you know what? The issue is the gun. The issue is the gun. The gun is really it's hard to do sometimes. I know he had a permit and all that there, but the gun sometimes put us in a position we don't want to be in. But we're praying for him. I am looking into this Stop the Violence Coalition, and is looking into this more deeper. And I will try to be at the court hearings to see how far this going and what they try to charge him with. But to his family and to our community, we must come together, because I believe they came out in force and swamped this house and try to put in a racial issue. But I didn't see too many Black folks afterwards coming there. I went over there a couple of days afterwards, but we didn't rally to say, listen, you're not going to do this to our community or to a person in our community. And this is what Austin is talking about. We come late. We got to rally together and say, let's sit at the table. Let's figure this out the right way. And that justice have is justice, if it is justice there. Okay, and that's what we have to look at, man.
Absolutely, it is coming together, and it's saying that, okay, even for all affected parties, everybody was affected here, and we do want justice to prevail, but we don't want justice to be swayed by other narratives or other things that people are adding, other perspectives that aren't relevant to what really happened and what really impacted, like I said, two different groups with two different lives. So within that, I feel like it is going back to even what I was saying, what I'm gonna continue to say, until we figure out what us is, until we figure out what us looks like. Because like we talked about for the Meriwether Library, there were a group that went there. There's a group that listened every week. There's also a lot of Buffalo who doesn't. There's a lot of Buffalo who isn't engaged. And what you'll find is, like you said, you could say that, we're doing that. But when you go to these forums, you go to these events, it's the same faces. It's the same people. And one thing a person on my job has said, which I live by, Linnell Williams, the lead outreach specialist, shout out Linnell, is this: when you go out into fields, you will find that 80% of the work is done. But if it's the table, y'all got to put some math. This is how I talk. It's 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. Right. And so it's like you go to these places, in these rooms, there's a lot of Buffalo, or there's 20% who is engaging. But we don't, in that same token, if we don't understand what us is, I may be informed as a young person, but there's a lot of young people who aren't. What unites all of us, despite that? Despite the fact that I'm tapped in and they're not, what unites all of us? What makes us all the same? And like I said, and I'm going to continue to say, it's not going to be a race thing. Race doesn't connect us, because I know plenty of people who look like me who want nothing to do with me. It's not going to be a gender thing. I know plenty of men who are terrible, and I got plenty of women in my life who I love to death. It's not going to be simply a nationality thing. We're not from here. You want to go back 400 years? I ain't even here right now. I'm on another continent. So within that, I think we have to look at it to say what unites all of us even deeper than just race. And what it is going to be financial situation. Like we talked about, at a national and local level, there are people who are profiting, and it's clear that regardless of what side you are on for a million other issues, the same people, like you said, they're on strike, we're dying in prison. Who's the villain? Right? Because like we talked before you came in here, there are families who are being affected. There are good people in that 2000 who got fired, whose family are now suffering. It's not just them. There are some bad apples, but unless we're going to say they're all bad apples, there are some good police officers. And there are people, really good people, case in point, we just heard a caller talking about one, who are suffering from the systems that they're enforcing. Nobody's winning from this. Who is winning? People who have money. And I think until we maneuver from that perspective, we will never start to unite, because we're always, like you said, reacting.
And I know we're about to wrap up the show.
I hope it's wherever the
I've been
weather
there
nice.
before. It's outside.
It's gonna be outside. It's gonna be great. We're gonna come out. It's gonna be free
Get all the
entry.
Easter
We're
eggs
gonna be able to
you
get all the Easter eggs. We're gonna have a
Yeah,
bunny
eggs
hop
is kind of high
contest.
now.
The
Eggs is
jelly
kind of
bean
high.
count. Yeah, nah, this is a premium event now. Eggs ain't
Miss
cheap. The
Sheila
Easter-
Brown, I know them eggs kind of high
the
now.
Easter,
You gonna have real
the
eggs.
Easter bunny. Easter bunny must have a Gucci now. It's
Yeah.
a different time. He getting paid good to be here, but we love to have the
Shine gonna
community
be
out
Easter bunny.
and come check the event. I don't know. You say you're gonna be the Easter bunny for the egg hunt event.
Yeah.
His eye telling me no.
No.
But as we get off the air, I want to say again, thank you, Jim, for the opportunity to talk about these issues. And I think that community, I hope that you were listening. And if you want to call in next week, if anything we said today makes you say, you know what, I want to bring my voice to the table, you can always call in at 716-837-1112. Feel better, Jim. Thank you, Murray. Shout out DJ Shy.
Peace.
Have a good one. Let's talk.